capabilities to it. You can take the applications close to the real world scenario. It also helps in structural programming like the C language, where you have to develop modules using the structure templates, and a lot of modularization required. So you cannot reuse the code completely. So these are some unique characteristics of the structured language. It supports that as well. So you can work in combination of both the platforms in this particular language. So the second main characteristic is it is an interpreted language. That is, you don't need separate steps for compiling the entire program and then only you can execute like in a C code. It is not mandatory here. Every line you could be executing and checking whether it is working according to your requirement or not. So every line can be executed. So statement by statement, you can check whether it is behaving the way you want, and then you can proceed. So that is the reason it is called as an interpreted language. And it's also an interactive language. So you can submit the commands and then get the outputs then and there. And it gets easier for the programmer to analyze where he is going wrong and then tend to correct his mistakes very easily. So these are certain main characteristics. One is the first catch is it is very easy. Syntax is very limited, so you don't need to follow great syntaxes here. So it supports both object oriented and structured, and every line you can interpret and then try to find out what is the output that you are getting, and then try to catch the errors then and there and try to modify. So this makes it very popular. So there are certain other benefits. So the code, because it is supporting object oriented, the codes are extendable. That is what you have already written for a particular application. If you want to add new features, it is not that you need to write the code from the scratch. You can just borrow these definitions, what you have written as functions, and then add extra features without rewriting the whole code from the beginning. You can just add extra features and then extend the existing program. Okay, so that is one of the basic characteristics of object oriented. And the other one is it is scalable. That is, you can build larger programs by building miniature modules, and then you can integrate and get into larger sizes. And it is portable, so you can program it and you can load these programs directly onto the hardware, so you don't need to do any conversion. So it is easier. So it has a very wide library support, like how I was telling, because day in, day out, different modules are getting added to the system. So you can use this language in both the platforms, that is Windows and Linux. So I've just given you a slide as to how to install. So it's better you people install Python 2.7 version, which is a stable version. Python 3 is also there, but some of the library modules are still not available in Python 3. So I've used Python 2.7 for all the coding that I'm going to explain. So you can use these steps which I have indicated here, and then you can make the installation in your devices. So I've given for both Python as well as Python installation for both Windows platform as well as Linux platform. So you can just have a watch on this slide, which will be shared to you, and then you can do the downloading of the tool. So basically, you need to go to python.org, look for Windows installation of Python 2.7, and then just install it. It is self-driven. It will tell you what are the next steps. So you can just keep following the instructions and install it. It is pretty easy. It will hardly take you 5 to 10 minutes. So now we'll try to look at what are the different data types which are available. Okay. Uh, and what are the different kind of constructs which are available in Python compared to other languages, and what special data types that has it got to offer. So basically, as in any other data type, you have integers. So one unique thing here is when I want to initialize a variable with a value, I don't need to give a data type to it. So basically, if you see here, the three greater than symbols you see are the command prompt. When you log into the Python tool and go to the command prompt window, you see the three greater than signs, which is the command prompt. You just simply give there a equal to 5. It automatically takes the data type based on the value that you're assigning to the variable. So 5, as all of us know, is an integer value. So it automatically takes a as an integer data type. So if you want to test the data type of any variable as to what data type is internally assigned, you can use a function which is inbuilt, which is called as type function. So when you give a parameter to the type function, which will be a variable whose data type you want to find out. It tells
Excuse me,
you
ma'am.
to what data type it belongs to. Yeah. Yes, please.
I'm not able to see the change in slides.
Oh, is it? Okay, madam, can you see what is the problem? Uh, I don't see any issue at my end. Yesterday also we faced this problem. I think she loaded the PPT. Madam, can you just look into it? If I'm coming out of slideshow mode, are you able to see the change in the slide?
Yes, ma'am.
You're able to see? Okay. So what I'll do, I'll just zoom in the non-slideshow mode and then I'll try to go ahead. Okay. So here, but I cannot use the pointer in this mode. So that is one more problem. Anyone from IET, can you please respond? If you can help me out in loading the slides and bringing it up in the slideshow mode. IET Bangalore, anybody who's there, can you please respond? Hello. Hello. IIT Bangalore section, anybody can respond, please? Yes, students, I have shared the entire screen. Just check whether the slides are changing. I'm trying to change the slides. Are you able to see?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you're able to see now. That's fine. Okay, so this is what I was trying to say. If you can see the slides now, when you are just typing a variable and assigning a value 5, which is seen here, the data type is automatically assigned based on the value that you are assigning to the variable. So if you have to check basically internally what data type is being assigned, you have a statement or a function in Python, which is called a type function. You call this function, pass the parameter whose data type you want to find out. So in this case, it is A. So when I give that, it will tell me what is the data type which is internally assigned, because we didn't declare any data type. So it is going to tell us what was internally assigned. So similarly, if I just change the value and give 2.5, as all of us know, it is float. So it automatically assigns it to be float. So similar thing happens for any of the data type, right? So you also have a data type which is supported in Python, which is complex, which is not there in many of the languages. So you have a complex data type. So if you give a complex number, automatically it takes it to be a complex data type. So when you give the y variable to the type statement, it says complex. If you want to access the real part and the imaginary part, you can just give the name of the variable that you have created. So dot real, when you say, it'll extract what is the real part value that you have given to the complex number. And if you say y dot imag imaginary, it will give you the imaginary part, which is 5 for this complex number, which I've assigned to y. So this is how you can extract the real part and the imaginary part in a complex value. Now it also supports a lot of arithmetic operations like any other languages, like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and raising a number to the power of any other value that we need to do. So when you're doing addition, very simple. Take the two variables which you want to add, use the plus symbol. Okay, automatically it drags these two contents of the variables and assigns the summed up value to C. Irrespective of what data type they belong to, it will carry out the addition procedure. So if you see here, A we had assigned as int value, B I had assigned as a float value. So when I say C equal to A plus B, automatically it is giving me a float data type for C, because the added value is a float value, which is 7.5. So this is how it works. So subtraction you can do using the minus operator, multiplication with the star operator like any other language, division by the slash symbol which you have, you can do. And power you use double star, and then you tell whatever variable has to be raised to which power, you can indicate directly, or another variable which has the value, so it automatically computes the exponential power of that. So this is how we can do some basic arithmetic operations in Python. Now there are a lot of string operations which it supports. So to identify any value or assigning to a variable as a string, you need to put the uh, word compilation into the variable using double quotes, like how I have shown here. Hello world is combination of two words which can be taken as a string. Now you are putting the value inside double quotes, so automatically it knows whatever you put inside double quotes, it should be treating it as a string. So when you see the type of that particular variable s which is assigned with hello world, it gives that the inbuilt data type which is assigned as string. Now when you are taking the variables to be strings, the arithmetic operators you can use on it and do special uh, work on the string. So like I have demonstrated for concatenation, which is nothing but combining two strings. So S is a string which we created with the string value as hello world. T is another string data type which we have created, and the sentence which is loaded to it is this is a sample program. Now if I want to combine these two sentences, I simply say S plus T. So it combines the two and then it loads into the other variable r, which also will be a string. And when I try to display the value which is there in r, you get the combination of both the sentences, which is nothing but combining, which we call as cascading in case of string, or we also call it as concatenation of strings. Now if you want to find the length of the string, that is how many characters are there in the string, you just have to use the function len, pass the string variable which is already loaded with a value. So if I use s, this is the string statement that I have loaded. It will count how many characters are there, and then it will give you how many characters are loaded into the string. That is including the space and all the special characters. Everything together is considered to be a character loaded to the string. Now there are options for you to convert the data type as well. So X here, if you can see, I have put the value for X as 100, which if I don't use double quotes will be taken as an integer value. Now since I've loaded 100 by using double quotes, X now becomes a string data type, right? So when I try to find the data type of S, I'm getting internally that it is assigned to be a string data type. Now if I want to convert that into a number and use it for operations, I have an option to do a type conversion like we have in any other language. I want to convert it into an int. So I give int and then give the parameter which I want to convert into integer. As though int is a function, I put round brackets and pass the value of the variable which I want to convert to int. So X I have passed. So now I'm loading this value after integer conversion into another variable Y. And if I try to print out the value of Y, I get it as 100, which is the value. If you try to check the type of this Y variable, it will be an integer. So you have converted from string data type into an integer data type. So this is possible on any data type. You can do the conversion using the similar syntax. Just mention which is the data type to which you want to convert. Within the round brackets, mention the name of the variable whose conversion you want to do, and then the typecasting happens. So now we'll just try to look at some of the functions which are available in the string data type. You also have functions to convert the strings into different cases. So if you want to convert all the characters into uppercase, you can give the name of the variable s and then which is having a string, and use the function upper on that particular string variable, it will convert all the characters that you have given into uppercase. So similarly, you can do for lowercase. Okay. So if you have to access substrings, that is part of a string or single character, so how you have to do is use the name of the string and then give the index where it is present. So now if I take the string s, the first index will be starting from 0. It goes on incrementally based on how many characters you have loaded. You will have the last index, right? So if I give s of 0, I'm trying to access the first character, which is h. So which is what I'm getting here. Now I can also give something called as a range statement. Suppose I want to see from index 6 till the end, what are the characters which are present in the string s. I can give the starting index to be 6, put a colon, and then leave the last value empty, which simply says take all the characters from the index 6 till whatever is the end of the string and then display. So if you see here, hello world is what is loaded into s. So this will be, h will be at index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 will be w. So it starts displaying from there till the end. So this is called as a range statement. If you don't mention the last index, it automatically goes till the end of the string, where there will be a special character like in any other language, a /0 or a null character, which depicts that the string values have come to an end. So it just goes on collecting the values till the end of the string and displays it for you. Now we can also do in a different way. I can give 6 colon minus 1. So what does minus 1 mean in the index? Minus 1 is the index of the last character in a string. So if you want to go from reverse, if I want to extract values from here, this will be index 0. This one, the last one, will be index minus 1. So minus indicates that you are going through the string in the reverse direction. Okay. So if I give 6 colon and leave the last character empty, it extracts everything till the end. If I give 6 colon minus 1, it will stop all the range statements. What you use will stop with one value less than what you have indicated. When I say 6 minus 1, minus 1 indicates the last character, which is the exclamatory mark. Excluding that, it will collect only till the previous character, which is till d. So that's the reason you see the printout of the range of values which you have requested for only till d. That is just the world is being printed out. Now you have other functions which operates on strings. It is called as a strip function, with which you can eliminate the characters which you don't want or the values which you don't want in the string. So I can use the string s, from which I want to discard few characters, call the strip function. Within the function, pass parameters as to what characters you want to remove. Suppose I want to remove exclamatory mark from the hello world, which I have put into the string s. So I say s dot strip and then give the exclamatory mark. So when I try to print out now what is there in s, I will just get hello world with the exclamatory mark being removed. So it is eliminated and removed from the string. Okay, so these are some basic string operations. So we saw how to find the length, which is nothing but finding out the number of characters, how to concatenate strings, how to convert data type from string to other data types. Okay, how do we convert the given characters into different cases like the uppercase or the lowercase completely, how to access substrings, as well as how to remove the unnecessary characters from the given string. So that is about the string data type, right? So there are many more functions. So I've just tried to limit to what we are going to extensively use in the programs that we are going to write. So anything missed out here, I'll be taking up when I'm using the specific programs, and what was not explained, I'll try to explain there. Because the list is exhaustive. If we go on, we can go on for multiple hours just explaining the syntax and constructs of Python. So the other data type which is available, which is not available in most of the other languages, they are three types, which is list, tuple, and dictionary. So these are three special data types which are available in Python. Okay, so to create a list, or if any value you are initializing should be treated as a list data type, you have to put all the values within square bracket. So how you are representing the values when you're loading it to a variable, that defines the data type to which it is going to be assigned to. So if you use square brackets and load values, which could be either numbers or strings or anything else which is allowed in Python, all these values are treated as part of the list. So if you see here, fruits is a list which I have created, into which I have tried to load 4 names of the fruits. And because these are strings which I'm using, I put them in single quote, and every particular member of the list I have separated out with commas. So this is how we are going to load values to a list. Now, if I try to find out using the type statement, what is the data type of this fruit which is created, it gives that the data type is a list. So any confusion till here? Yes, students, any queries as of now? Hello, is it fine? Okay, feel free to ask questions in between so that you will get clarity over what is being done, and then we can proceed. So if you don't have unmute access, you can type your queries in the chat box. Okay. So I'll just continue since there are no queries. Now, if we look at the different possibilities which are available in the list, you can see length function is available in the list. Like in on any other data type, you can use the length function. If you pass the data type which you created now as a list, and the name of the variable which we created as fruits, if we pass that, it will tell us how many members are there in the list, which is nothing but the length. Okay, so we have initialized with 4 members, so the list length is coming to be 4. Okay, if you want to access individual elements in the list, you can again give the index as to where it is present. So suppose say I say fruits of 1, I it will always, the indexing will start from 0. So 0 1, what is the value is what is being extracted and given. So similar to what we use in the strings, we can use a range statement here. I can say I want to extract from the fruit list from index 1 up to 3. So when you put a colon and put an ending value, we call this as a range statement. And always the highest value what you give, 1 less than that is taken as the valid index. So 1:3 means you're trying to access values in index 1 and index 2, where 2 is 1 less than 3. So you are just getting 2 values, right? So similar kind of approach you can have based on what are the members you want to extract. So I've just shown one more example. Fruits, if I say I want to extract from index 1 colon and leave the highest value blank, it extracts everything till the end. So you're able to see except the index 0 all the values being printed out. Now to the list, you can also add new values. So you can append. Append always means adding the new value at the end. So to the list fruits which you have already created, you're asking for append and you're passing the value which you want to add, which is nothing but the name of the fruit here. So when I try to display the list fruits, I'm getting along with what I already had, which are 4 fruit names. The peer is also added at the end. Okay, so you have a function remove with which you can remove the unwanted values from the list. So I can just say the name of the list, remove, and what is the name or the element which I want to remove. It automatically throws it out from the list. Okay, so we can also insert. Append always allows you to add only at the end. If you want to insert in between at specific positions, you have a function called insert. So when you call insert, the first parameter is the index where you want to add this new value, and then the value what you want to add as the second parameter. So here I've shown for insert 1 comma mango. So I want to insert at index 1. So earlier, if you see at index 1, orange was there. Now mango is getting added and this has got shifted by 1 position. So you see the change list. So you can also combine lists, like how we did combination of strings. We can also combine two lists. So I've created vegetables as one more list, added few vegetable names, trying to display what is the content of the vegetable list. Now I am trying to add the two, that is the fruits list and the vegetable list. I am adding using the plus symbol. Since we are using the plus operator on the two lists, it gives us concatenation of two lists or combining the two lists, and we are loading it into something called eatables, where depending on what you are using first here, the values of that particular list comes first. So fruits is used first here, the members of the fruits are the ones which comes first, and then the members of the vegetables get added, and a single list is created, which now gets the name of what you have mentioned on the left hand side of what you created. Okay. Now, it is not necessary that in a list you should always have homogeneous values. So if you see here, fruits had members as homogeneous values, that is all of them were strings. Now I'm trying to show you where you can have mixed data types. So this is also possible. So each member belongs to different data type. Now data here is a string. Now 5 is an integer, 10.1 is a float, and this is a long int. Okay, so it can be a mixture of multiple data types. So in that case, when you give the type of mixed, it will tell it is a list. When you give different members by accessing them individually, if I say mixed of 0, it will access the first member value. What data type it belongs to, it displays it separately. So a string is the data type of the member, the first member here, which is data. So individually also it will give you the data type. Okay. So you can also change the individual elements of the list possible. So what you can do is mixed of 0. If I take mixed is this list which I created, of 0 means first member data. To that I am trying to add one more string items. So what happened? The member which was earlier, the first member was having a string value data, now changed to data items, because when you say plus on the string, you're concatenating the two strings. Now to mixed one, you can access the value 5, you can add 1 to it. So you're modifying the content of individual elements of a list, and then you are rewriting into the same list. So this is also possible. You can also have nested lists, that is a list within another list. So fruits and vegetables were the two lists which we already created. So what I have done now, instead of adding them and putting into one list, I have just taken the square brackets and put the fruits and vegetables as members. So I'm creating one more list where fruits is another separate list, vegetable is another separate list. So you can see within this list nested, you have two lists. First one is the fruit list, the other one is the vegetable list. So you can create even nested lists, list within list to any level. You can just go, right? So next data type which is supported is called the tuple. So tuple, how do you create? With a different representation. So list was created with a square bracket, as we saw. Tuple will be created with a round bracket. So you can see the round bracket here. So anything you add with a round bracket and assign it to a variable, it is treated as tuple. How is this different from the list? List members, after you initialize, you can modify. I showed you that individually you can access the members and modify. Okay, so you can read into the list which you have already created, you can write into it, you can modify it. Whereas in a tuple, you can create it only once. After you assign the values, you will not be allowed to change anything. So it's a read only list what you are trying to create. So once I initialize the fruits tuple which what I have created, I cannot edit any of the values further. I can just read it out and use it. That's all. That is the main characteristic of tuple. So anything what you have want to load as data, you don't want it to be changed at any cost, you can put it in the form of a tuple, right? So len function, this is a common function which is available in Python, which can operate on any data type. Okay, you can use it on int, you can use it on string, you can use it on list, tuple, anything. It will basically tell you this data type is a combination of how many values, right? So tuple here, when I use len of fruits, where fruits is a tuple, how many members are there is what it gives, which is 4. All right. So individual elements of a tuple also you can access, like how you can access in the list by giving the index numbers. If you don't want to access individual elements, you want multiple of them, you can use range statements like how you used in the list. And you can also make combinations of tuples, like how we did combinations of lists. You can do the same way. So vegetable is another tuple which is created. You can just add the two tuples. Okay. So fruits members are put into the tuple first, and then the vegetable uh, tuple members are added. So you create eatables as one tuple, which whose members are a combination of fruits and vegetables. So this is possible, like how you do in the list. So same features are available, except that you can initialize it only once, and after you initialize, you cannot change the values. So dictionary is one more data type which is available. So dictionary is a combination of key and value pair, right? So if you see here, different members of the dictionary are separated by commas, and before every comma you can see there is a colon which is separating two values. So before the colon, what is present in this first one, name is called as the key, and the value you are assigning to this key comes after the colon, and the value here is Mary, right? So this is a key value pair which is separated out by colon. So I repeat, before the colon will be the key, after the colon will be the value. So key value pairs like this, multiple of them you can have, and when you group them into a construct, we call it as dictionary. And how do you create a dictionary? The bracket representation changes here. It will be a flower bracket or a curly bracket, right? So list with square bracket, tuple with a simple round bracket, and dictionary you can create with a curly bracket or a flower bracket, right? So when you are trying to find the type of what you have created with a curly bracket, it says student is a dictionary data type, right? So length function you can use on this. It will tell you how many key value pair combinations are present. So in whatever I've created as student, there are three key value pair combinations. So it's giving me the length to be 3, right? So if I want to find out the value given to a particular key, I can also do so. Take the name of the dictionary, which is student, give the name of the key whose value you want to find out. So if I use the name of the dictionary student, give the key, which is name, it will tell me the value which is assigned to this key, which is nothing but Mary, right? So when you want to get the value of a particular key, this is the syntax you need to use. Now, if I want to get all the things, items which are there in the dictionary, that is whatever are the members which are assigned, right? So you can give the function call on the dictionary that you have created, student dot items. Okay. So if you see here, there is a new key value pair which has come up because I have done some modifications here. So you're able to see different values here. That's all. So what it will do, this items function, it will extract all the key value pairs and display it for you, right? So if you just want the keys that you have used, you can also do so by using the keys function on the dictionary. You'll just get the names of the keys which are used. If you want only the values, you can use the values function. Okay. So if you want to add a new key value pair, you can just say the name of the dictionary, in square bracket, mention the key which you want to add and the value which you want to assign to it here. Then the dictionary gets added up with the new value, right? So this was the dictionary which we created. To that we have added gender as the key and value as female. So which is come up here as an additional value to the dictionary which was earlier created with three key value pairs, right? So now you can check if a particular dictionary has a key which you are trying to search. So basically dictionary, you can imagine like a table. So what will be the keys? The keys will be the name of the columns, and values will be for different rows or samples what you give as values for that column, that will get into the value here. So if you want multiple rows of a table to be created, so you can be using multiple dictionaries within dictionary. So for every row you can create a dictionary, right? So dictionary of dictionaries represent a table where every single dictionary in the nested dictionary will represent a row, right? The column names will be the key, and then the value will be the actual value that particular sample is taking. Suppose I want to create a database of student, so let me just draw it here for you. If I want to create a database of a student, a table like this with multiple columns, okay, say the name, I'll just write the first character name first, okay, say the USN, the ID of yours, so USN next, and then say the phone number, right? It's difficult to write with the mouse, so I'm just making an attempt to do so. So what do? I create a dictionary. Okay, so I say student. Student is the name, so I'm just writing in short form. Name I create as the key. Put a colon, write the name what I want, comma, USN. Okay, I'm just using short forms. Give the USN number here, comma, use the phone number. Okay, put a colon, give the phone number. Now this is the details of one student. So like this, I want to create for multiple. So what I do, I put one more bracket, put this dictionary within another dictionary. Now separate the second student detail by putting a comma, and then start off with one more dictionary in the bracket, in the curly braces, where you're going to give details of the second student. Okay, so second student details will come here. If you want to add third student, put a comma and then keep on adding. So you can just go on like this to create the table. So basically whatever you have in the columns, okay, so columns will be uh, the name of the columns here, what will be the name of the keys, and every row what you have the details of the student is getting converted to one dictionary. If you want a table, you have to create a dictionary within a dictionary. Okay, so this is how we will do creating of databases, right? So this is about dictionary. So next is type conversion. So some part of it was already covered. So if you are initializing a value, say let's take this one, a was initialized with a value 10,000. So it's an integer. I want to convert it into string. I give the shortcut name of the data type, which is str, pass the variable which I want to convert to string, and then simply it gets converted to string. So I can convert anything to anything, right? So this is something interesting. S is a string which you have put in double quotes. So it is a string. What you have taken is AEIOU characters. Now I want to break this up into individual letters and load it into a list. I can simply say list of S. It individually breaks this character separately and loads it into different members of the list. So this is also possible. Now we have one more functionality here called set. So X is a list which is created, right, with different members. So if you see in the list, the name of the fruit banana is repeated twice. So now if I want to know in this list what are the unique values which are present, which are non-repetitive, I can use a inbuilt function called set, pass this list X. It will give me what are the unique values which are there in this list. So mango is repeated, banana is repeated. So you can see just the unique values which are present are only three values, which is mango, apple, and banana. Okay, so this is how you can use different functions. So now let's look at some of the constructs which will be handy in writing the code. So the data types I have tried to cover till now. So any queries on the data types, you can ask me. So I'll just pause for a minute. Anybody has any queries, you can just text on the chat, or you can unmute yourselves and ask. Do you people have the provision to unmute yourself? Yes, guys, some response is required. Otherwise, very difficult to know whether you are following, not following. Yes, anybody who can respond? Are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any queries till now?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, let me continue then. Anybody else has queries? Please feel free to ask. So you're still able to see my PPT?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we'll go into the control statements. So if else, else if, like how you have in other languages, you also have in Python. So the syntax for usage here is slightly different. So if you see here in the statement which I am trying to depict, I have just put some constructs here for you. If you see here, if I initialize a with some value that is 25 to the power of 5, I'm trying to check if a is greater than 10,000. Okay, if it is greater than 10,000, I'm just trying to say a statement print that it is more than the a value is more than 10,000. Else, I'm saying it is less than 10,000. Okay, so this is how you use the um construct in Python. So how do you see the statements being written? You don't see any bracket anywhere, right? So you use the if, which is the keyword, put what is the comparison statement what you want to write with, based on which this is the condition for you to enter into the if construct. Okay, so that condition you can put here and end the construct with a colon. So if you see here, there is a colon at the end. So this says that the if construct first line is over. What all you want to put inside this construct, where you have placed this if construct, go with one tab and try to put those statements, right? So that is more evident um, here. Okay, so if not some statement condition check, you put a tab space after the if and then push the statement inside. So it means within this if construct, what you have entered as the next line with the tab is what is going to get inside this construct. So as long as you maintain one tab and put all the statements, all these multiple statements you're going to put is going to be part of this construct. So no brackets are used anywhere. Okay, so how it works is same as any other language. If this condition is true, it will come to this line. If this condition is false, it will go to the else part and go to the else part execution, right? Else also should be ended with a colon, correct? So here you can see the usage of else if construct. So if you're checking a condition, if it is not satisfied, so just let me go to the non-display mode. I'll just try to stretch this a bit. Yeah, so this is how you had to see it exactly. So here, if you can see, if a is less than 1 lakh, I'm just trying to print here a statement, a print statement I'm calling. So to display anything onto the output screen in Python, you use print, and what you want to print, you have to just put in double quotes. That's it. No semicolon, nothing. So with one tab space, I have put this print statement. So if the value is what is assigned to a is less than 10,000, it will just print this. So if you see, this if construct is coming within another if construct. So this is nested if construct what you can use. First you check if a is greater than 10,000. If this is true, you're checking whether it is less than 1 lakh. Then you are trying to say it is between. If this is true and this is also true, then the value is between these. Else, what you're doing, you're trying to say it is more than the 100k value which you entered here, right? Else if you don't use ELSCIF, you use only ELIF, elif. Okay, so everything, whether else, elif, you have to end with a colon at the end. Okay, so that is what you need to remember in the syntax. So everything has to end, the construct has to end means you have to end the first line with a colon, and whatever you want to put inside the construct, you should put it with a one tab space. Okay, so this is the rule you have to follow when you are trying to use the code. So all these are repetitions of the same construct. So I'll just skip if and else if construct you can use, right? So it also supports for loop. So the speciality here is the usage of for loop. Okay, so there are multiple loops: for, while, do while. Okay, so for is very interesting in case of Python. So if you see, I've just tried to use it on different data types to give you a feel of how it works differently on different data types, right? So hello string is a variable which I've created. I have assigned the value to it in double quote. So it means what hello string data type takes is a string. Now I use a for loop on this string data type which I have created by saying for give a variable C. Okay, in hello string which I've already initialized, I am trying to print out what is extracted. So basically what for loop does, it looks at what data type you are trying to operate the for loop on and what is it as a collection of. So hello string is basically a string which we have created. And what is a string? It is a collection of different characters where H is a character, E is a character, L is a character, space is also a character. So what it does, for every iteration of the loop, it will pull out one character from the string and it will start displaying it. So when I give print C, where C is a character pulled out from hello string, which is a string data type, first iteration I'll get H, second iteration I'll get E, third iteration L, so on till this entire string is printed out character by character, right? So if we use the for loop on list, so what is basically a list? List is a collection of members which may be either of the similar type or different data type. So basically it's a collection of multiple members, right? So when you use the for loop on the list, what it does, it pulls out one member at a time and it tries to print. So when you have to extract a particular value from the list, you have to give the index. So if you can see here, for item in fruits, when I say I try to print out, I am trying to print out the item which is extracted. If I just print here, print comma, sorry, in double quotes item, it will just print whatever is the values which are extracted here. If I want to even number it as to how many items were collected, I can use a variable I, initialize it to 0, print out even the value of I. So I'm printing here as I comma item, right? If you want to print multiple values like how we use in C, you can give the specifiers here based on the data type. The first one I is an integer value, so percentage %d. Second one is nothing but members of the list which are strings, so given percentage %s, and then say the name of the variable which has to be printed out for these specifiers. So I is the value which has, or the variable which has the integer value. Item is what is being pulled out from this list, which is nothing but one single member from the list which you are printing out. So the output you will get is 1 apple, 2 orange, 3 banana, 4 mango. So that is how it will be displayed. Now, since you have to increment the I value and display the incremental number, you are also incrementing the I value for every iteration. So if you can see here, there are two statements within the for loop. So both are put inside the for loop by giving a tab with reference to this particular column from where you have started the for loop construct. So the for loop construct, again, the first line should end with a colon. Now, if I use it on a dictionary, so basically what is a dictionary? It is a collection of key value pair, right? So when I use it on a dictionary, every iteration of the for loop will fetch me one key value pair and you can be printing it out. So this comes very handy when you are trying to use the construct. So while loop is also present. The construct while is similar to any other language. You use the keyword while, give the condition with which you can enter the loop. And while loop, it is an entry restricted loop, because without this condition going true, we cannot enter into the loop, right? So if this condition satisfies, it gets into the inner statements and then does the job which is assigned inside the loop. So it behaves very much similar to any other language while loop. Okay, so now we have range statements which are very popularly used in Python. Okay, so range is the function. It can take 3 parameters. Okay, so like how I have shown here, 3 parameters. The first one will be what is the starting value. Second parameter will be the ending value. third parameter will be the increment with which you have to load the value. Now, how is the statement handy? If you don't want to initialize multiple values by typing them into a list, you can simply use the range statement, generate these values and dump it into a list. Okay, it helps you in generating the values in large quantities when you want. If suppose I want to initialize some 10,000 elements to a list, instead of me sitting and typing all the 10,000 elements, I can use a range statement and then I can generate them if the consecutive values are spaced at equal increments, right? So 10 is the starting value, 110 is the maximum value I can have, and each value should be at a incremental of 10 compared to the last one. So we start with 10, next value will be 20, which is at an increment of 10. So you go on like that till you have a value which is less than 110, which comes with increments of 10. So the one maximum value is 110, minus 10 will be 100, which is the last value you could be generating, because as I already told you, range statement, the last value always one less than that is what you can have as the valid values. So here, since the increment is 10, the maximum value what you're given minus 10 will be the last value which you can have. Now you can also put the range statement without three parameters. You can give only one parameter. In that case, it takes the single value what you have given as the maximum value that you have to generate the numbers to, and the starting value is always considered as 0 and the increment is always taken to be by default 1. So what happens when I give range of 10? It starts generating numbers from 0, which is the default starting value, and every value that you are trying to add to the generation of the range of values will be at an increment of 1 compared to the previous value. So 0, 1, 2, 3 sequentially till one value less than 10, which is 9, is what can be generated and loaded to a variable. Okay, so we have looked at multiple constructs which are possible. That is the if else, loop constructs. We also looked at different data types. Now, using what all we learned, we will just try to write some Python programs so that we get familiarity as to how to write programs in Python, right? So the first program I am trying to do is, I'm going to ask a list of numbers from the user. Okay, and from the list of numbers which is entered, I keep on taking the values as long as the user does not input the string done. So once he puts the string done as the input, it means he's done with entering all the numbers he wanted to enter. So till then, I have to keep accepting the values which he is going to give from the keyboard. So print is the statement, like in any other language, to print out the values onto the screen. And here you have a function called input with which you can take the values from the user using the keyboard, right? So input is the function which we will be using to take in the values. Then once all values are entered, what I want is, I want to find out what is the maximum number which the user has entered and what is the minimum number that the user has entered. Now, whatever values are entered, we want it to be stored into a list. I don't want to lose all the values which the person has given, because among that, I want to find out which is the minimum and which is the maximum. So basically, whatever values he is giving, I need to store. So to store the values which is given, I am first creating a list, which is nothing but a combination of different values which can be stored under one template. So to indicate that num list is a variable which is going to be belonging to list data type, I have two ways which I can do. I can say num list equal to, and then let me use the pen and show you the other syntax which you could be using. So instead of initializing it to be list, I can also say num list is equal to, put a square bracket like this and leave it empty. So then num list takes the data type list data type automatically. So this is one way of doing. You just say the name of the data type and put an empty round bracket. So which says that num list is a variable which you are creating of list data type. Why are we doing this? Because all the numbers which the user is giving, we want to store it into a data type. So we are storing it in a list data type which can accommodate multiple members. Okay. So if you don't want to use this syntax, the other alternative is num list is equal to, put a square bracket, leave it empty. It will define num list to be a list data type, right? So we don't know how many numbers we have to take. As long as the user inputs done, we have to keep accepting. So it may be 10 numbers, 20 numbers, 100 numbers, we are not sure. So we cannot use any other loop. We have to use a while loop, and we put the entry condition here as true, which is a bool value. True means a condition is always valid to enter into the loop. So when you put a condition like this, it becomes an infinite loop, while true is an infinite loop, because always the entry condition you have given as true. So you have given free permission to enter the loop as many times as they want. So while is the keyword to use the while loop. True says I want to run the loop infinitely till a condition occurs and I'm desperately stopping or deliberately stopping the loop. Till then I want to continue. So since it is the first line, I have to put a colon. Okay. Then to take the value from the user, I have input function. So this input function can work in two ways. It can also display a message to the user as to what he has to enter, and what he gives as values, it can accept that and assign it to whatever variable you are assigning it to. So input is a function. You're giving a message to the user. Whatever message you want to give to the user, put it in single quote. Say enter a number, right? So you want him to enter different numbers. So you're asking him to enter a number. So whatever he gives as values, maybe 10, 20, 30, three values. First iteration, it is taking the first number from the user. What he gives, it is assigned to this variable input. Okay. And I check whether what I have got from the keyboard from the user, which is loaded into this variable input, is equal to what value I want to stop this while loop with, which is done. So once he enters done, I wanted the uh, program to stop accepting values. So I'm checking whether what value I have loaded, which was accepted from the user, into this variable inp, I am trying to check whether it is equal to done by using double equal to. Double equal to means check and not assign, right? So I'm checking whether it is done. If it is true, I am giving a break. So break is a construct with which you come to the end of the construct once the condition is reached. So if the user has given me the string done, I wish to stop the loop and stop accepting the values from the user. So that's the reason I am breaking out. Okay. So if I give the values 10, 20, and 30 sequentially from the keyboard, first iteration, it will take 10, assign it to num list. So num list is a list which is getting created. So I'll just write it as num. How is it getting created? In the form of round square bracket. So 10 is the first member which you gave from the keyboard. Second iteration, you are taking 20. Still it was not done. So you have not exited the while loop. You are going back again, asking the user to give you next number. You picked up 30, and then you are entering that. So after 30, say the user is giving done, right? So it accepts only three values and then it stops. Since the input value is done, you're coming out of the while loop. Now in the while loop, inside the while loop itself, what you're doing is, so if you see here, while is starting here, and all these four statements which I'm trying to mark now are with a one tab space. So all these four statements are within the loop. So first I accept the character. I check if it is done. If it is not done, what did I do? I converted that value into float data type. Okay. By float is the function call which I'm making to do the type conversion. Pass what I took from the user, which was loaded into IMP, converted the data type, loaded that into another variable called value, and to the num list, which is a list what we created here, we are appending this float converted value. So everything now gets stored with decimal value. So first one will be 10.0, second value will be 20.0, third value will be 30.0, which you are going to store if you're giving only three values, right? So then I'm printing out the content of the list to know what were the values which were entered. So I'll get the display of 10, 20, and 30. Now my intention here was also to find the maximum among the numbers which were entered and the minimum among the numbers which were entered. So max is an inbuilt function to which I pass the list of numbers which were given by the users, which is there in the num list. So it tries to find out which is the maximum value and display. In this case, 30. So 30 is the output that we should be getting because the values we entered are 10, 20, 30. Minimum, it will display 10. So the function to find minimum is inbuilt function min, to which you can pass the list where you have the values. Okay. So this is how you do the coding in Python, right? So this is a very simple program which I try to explain. So I hope it is clear. How do you write a code in Python with a simple code is what I have tried to demonstrate. So before we go to the next one, which is functions, so I would like to know if you have any questions till now. Any doubts? Yes, please feel free to ask.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So let me just move on to the next concept then. So the next concept is functions. So whenever you're using Raspberry Pi, when you're using Python to write your codes, basically we write it in the form of functions, right? So we need to understand how to write a function and what is the necessity to write a function. So I just try to give some examples here. So like in any other language, functions are always written when you want a set of task, that is for every function is written to achieve a particular task. If you want this task to be repetitively used, okay, so usually we go for function writing. And one more advantage of function is you can split the work into different modules and the functions can be developed independently, tested independently, and then you can integrate it. So parallel development of the code is possible when you're writing in the form of function. And then finally, you can integrate the big program which you had to write to break it up into modules. Each module is going into a function, and these functions can be independently developed and later integrated, and then you can make a big project code out of it, right? So it is possible. So parallel development possible when you are trying to use functions. So this will helping you in achieving a task very quickly because you have broken them the main task into multiple small functionalities. You have distributed the work to multiple people. They are tested individually and finally integrated, and then the final version of the integrated code comes up very fast because it is parallelly developed, and it is very easy to catch the errors in the logical errors when you are writing the function, because each function is meant for a particular task. If that particular task is going wrong when you're executing, you know which function is giving you the problem. Okay, so these are some advantages of writing a function. Now, how do you write a function in Python? So to understand that what you're writing is a function, a keyword is used in Python, which is called def. So def is the starting keyword, indicates that what you're going to write is a function. And then you can give a name to the function. The function name is, this is user defined. You can define any name for the function. So this is user defined. It is not given by the program, right? So you can give any name of your choice. It can take parameters to the function like any other language, and it is the same syntax what we use in C. You use round brackets to depict the parameters. If you have multiple parameters to pass, you can separate the parameters by using a comma. Now, since this is the first line of the function, you should end it with a colon, right? And if you want to give some details about, that is the comment about this function as to what this function is doing. So usually in C, we use this slash in to give the comments. Here we can use triple quote to give the comments. The function documentation as to what this function is being written for, you can put it in triple quotes, and you can have multiple lines. When you're putting in triple quotes, you can write the explanation as to what this function is doing for the other person who's going to use this function to understand what this function is basically written for. You can even put the statements where you're describing the functionality of the function in multiple lines when you're using triple quotes. Then you write the definition of the function, that is the codes you write for achieving the functionality, and then finally you can have a return value from the function, which may be in the form of a list as well. So multiple values also you can return, right? So here I have just tried to show you one small implementation for understanding how to use a function. So what I have done here is, if you see here, student is a data type which I have created. And if you see, the data type has started with a flower bracket. So obviously it is a dictionary which I have created, right? So if you see here, the first member in the dictionary is what I have tried to circle now here. This is the first member. Okay, so what is the first member? The first one before the colon is the key. The next one is the value. So the first one, the key is 1, which is the first student, and the details of the student is available after colon, which is his name and the grade he is secured. Now, since there are multiple values here existing as key value pair, I give the key value here in the dictionary. So you have a nested dictionary. Dictionary within dictionary is what is created. So basically here in the student dictionary, I have tried to give details of 5 students, what is their name and what is the grade that they have secured. Now, suppose I want to write a function which computes what is the average grade of all the students in a class. So I've just given for 5. So assuming that there are 5 students, now I want to take average of what is the score of all these 5 students by using a function. So this is what I'm trying to demonstrate. So if you see here, since we are writing a function, we are starting with def, which is the keyword for function. Average grade is the name of the function. To this function, I'm passing parameter. What is the parameter? My objective is to find average of all these grades which are acquired by different student, which is the 5 students, including this. I have to take average of all these values, right? So I have to pass this dictionary where the data is present. So I'm passing the name of this dictionary, which is students, as parameter to this function. Since this is the first line of the function, we have to end with a colon. Now I am trying to write a statement here to explain what this function is going to do. So I put that in triple quote. So I'm giving explanation as to what this function is going to do. This function will compute the average grade. So that is what I'm trying to write. Now to find the average grade, what I have to do, we know how to find average of multiple numbers. So same thing as what we're going to do here, but the numbers have to be extracted from the dictionary. So basically my interest is I have to extract all these values, that is 2.5, 3.5, 4.2, 4.1 and 3.8 one at a time, sum it up, find out how many values are there in the dictionary, okay, divide the sum what I've got for the individual grades, divide by that value, okay. So this is how we can compute the average, as all of us know. So I'm creating a variable here called sum, okay, to which I am initializing the values with 0, because every grade of the student I read, I want to sum it up using this variable. So basically 1 grade at a time I have to read from the student dictionary. So I'm using a for loop which will help me in reading 1 value at a time, right? So for key in students, what is the student? It is a dictionary of dictionary. So I will be reading 1 key value pair at a time when I'm using the for loop, right? When I read a key value pair, I'm interested in the values, but in these values which I've extracted, there are two things. One is the name, the other one is the grade. I'm not interested in the name part of the value. I'm interested only in the grade. So how do I access that? So here what I do, students, whatever key you have collected, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are the keys, I give that as a parameter. So when I give some students of 1, I will be getting this particular value, right? So in that, I'm interested only in accessing the grade part. So I give the key inside this dictionary student. I access the key 1. Inside this, the value is existing as a dictionary. In that, I want to access only grade. So what I give, that I give as the second value which I want to capture. So inside the student, first value which is picked up in the for loop, which is the key, right? I'm using 1. 1 is the first key value, 1. And then I say in 1, that is student 1, I'm interested in capturing the value which belongs to the key grade. So that I give here as in another square bracket, the grade, which is the key whose value I want to capture. So first iteration, I get 2.5, that I add to sum, store it back into sum, right? So only this statement is there with a tab space for loop. So only this statement is there within the loop. So I go back, change the value of the key. I take the next key value, which is 2. and then I go to student of 2, that is the next row, go to the grade, collect this, and then sum it up. So once I finish the for loop, some variable will have summation of all these grades, right? Then to compute the average, what I do, I divide the sum which I calculated by finding out how many student details are present in the dictionary student. So to find the number of key value pairs which are present, or which is nothing but the number of student details which are present, I use the length function on the student data type. I will get how many members are there, which are 5 members. So divide by 5, I get the average. So using the return statement, I am returning the average which I have found out, which is the average grade of the students who are in the class. Right. So to call this function, when you write a function, automatically it doesn't execute. You will have to call the function. So how do I call the function? Like in C, similar syntax. Use the name of the function. The name of the function is average grade. So I'm using the name of the function and then passing the parameter which I want, which is student, and what this function is returning, I assign to a variable average, and then I print it out. So the function average grade is computing the average, returning that value, which I am assigning to another variable called avg, which I'm printing it out. So this is how you can write a function and call and get the functionality executed. Right? So is it clear what is a function and how to use function in Python is what I tried to demonstrate. I hope it is clear. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now there are something called as default arguments which you can give to a function. So what is this? So default values are ones which you assign to the parameters when you are writing the function. So if you don't give any value to this parameter, automatically it takes what is the value you have assigned here. So to explain it, I have just tried to give some examples here. Print info is a function which is written. It is taking two parameters. One is name, the other one is age. To age, I have assigned a default value 35. So if I don't pass the age parameter, second parameter, it will simply take the age as 35, right? So here I'm inside the function. I'm just trying to write two print statements which are going to print out what are the parameters which are passed, which is name and age. That's all, right? So look at the first call which I made to the print info function. I'm calling the function for execution. Now I say here age equal to 50, name equal to Mickey, right? So whereas in the function when I wrote the name parameter first and then the age parameter next. But when I'm calling the function, specifically for every parameter, I'm mentioning the name of the parameter and then giving the value which should be taken, right? So when we do this, the order in which we give the values does not matter. We can even mix it up and give. So intentionally I have mixed it up here. First parameter, which was supposed to be name, I'm giving as age. So exclusively I'm mentioning it is an age parameter which I am giving. So it doesn't matter in what order I give. So what do I get? I get the output as the name as Mickey and the age to be 50, right? So if I call the print info function with just name and don't pass the second parameter, what does it give? It gives the name as what you have passed, and age by default, it takes as 35, what you have assigned here when you wrote the function. So this is how you can use default values, right? To both the parameters, if I give default values, then I can also call the function print info without passing any parameter at all. So what option does it give? It gives you option when you give default values to the arguments. You can call the function without passing any parameter. If you have given default values to all the parameters, you can call it with 1, 2, any number of parameters based on what is the maximum you have given. In this function, we have given two arguments. So I can call, if I give to name also a default value, say X, okay, so I can call this function in the third way. I've shown you print info being called with one parameter, with two parameter. Because I'm assigning a default value to name as well, I can call the function print info without any parameter. So I can just say print info. Okay, so assume that this is print info, what I'm trying to write, and then pass the round bracket and then simply call without any parameter, right? Still it works. So this is an advantage. So you can write one function and you can pass either 1, 2, any number of parameters based on what maximum value you have defined, and still run the same function. If you're not giving default values and if you want to call the function without any parameters, you will have to write one more function print info, which does not require any parameter. So you'll have to write multiple versions of the definition of print info with one parameter, two parameter, three parameter, one no parameter, different we have to write. But if we assign default values, you can call the same function code with how many ever parameters you wish to when you're calling the function. So it gives you an flexibility of passing any number of values according to your requirement. Okay, this is one thing. So this I will skip for today. That is reference, right? So keyword arguments also will skip. I will go to variable length functions, which is very important. So this is a special feature which is available in Python. So if you see here, print info function, I have tried to write one with arg1 is the first argument. The other argument which I have written is var tuple with a star. So this is set to be a variable length argument what you can pass. So what do you mean by this? So variable length means you can give any number of parameters here because I have given this to be variable length. So let me demonstrate that with an example. So inside the print info function, what I have done, I have given a print statement to print argument one, that is the first parameter, and then a for loop to print out the variable argument list. Now the variable argument list here could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 3, or it could be even 100. I don't know how many extra values this user is going to give when he's calling the print info function. I'm giving option for him to give any number of parameters at his will during execution. So what I'm doing to display all the values he's going to pass, I have put a for loop. So the for loop, what it does, it operates on var tuple, which is the variable parameter which I have defined. How do you define the variable parameter? Just put a star behind the name of the parameter. It becomes a variable length parameter, right? So from this variable length parameter, I'm taking one at a time and then I'm printing out in the loop. So irrespective of how many you pass, it just extracts everything and prints out. So to give you a demo, I have just called in two different ways. Print info, I'm passing only one parameter. So in that case, what happens? Var tuple here, it will not allow you to you're not passing any value to this at all. So you have passed only one parameter which gets into the first one. So when you try to print out, it is giving you only 10, which is the only parameter you passed. Now I'm calling next time print info here with three parameters. So first one is 70, which goes into arg1. The other two, 60 and 50, goes into this variable length argument, okay, which can take any number of parameters. So whatever you give above beyond this first parameter, it takes everything into a tuple. That is why I've given here as var tuple. Okay, variable length of the tuple. So what is the advantage of taking parameters to tuple? You can assign the values only once. You cannot change the values within the function. So what parameter values you've given, you cannot edit within the function. Okay, so it takes all these into a tuple, and then from the tuple it extracts one member at a time in the for loop and then displays it, right? So you will get the output as 70, 60, 50. So this print function now works for any number of arguments. If I give a default value to arg1, it can also work without parameter. It can work with one parameter, 2, 3, 10, 100, anything. But in the previous version, what I showed here, this one, we had limited it to only two arguments, right? So either I can give one, I can give two, okay, and call, because one of the parameters I had given a default value, but maximum was only two. So now what did we modify? By adding the variable length argument, we have made the same function print info as a common print function, which can print one parameter, 10 parameter, 100, 1 lakh, any number based on your choice. So it's the same function you can use for printing any number of values. So it gives you that flexibility, right? So there are other things to be learned in Python, which is module. So I'll just give you a brief of what is a module and what is a package, and then we'll try to wind up the class for today. So tomorrow I'll take up RPy basics and teach you how to do coding using Python using in the RPy, right? So here, if you can see, there are different functions which are written. Okay. So suppose I want to create a library. Okay. So how do we create a library of our own in Python is what I'm trying to show. So create a file with the name student.py. So anything you're creating in Python, the extension should be .py. Now just load all the function codes which you want to use repetitively into this file. Okay. And every time, instead of writing these functionalities, if you want to use them repetitively, you can dump everything into one file and just take that file and use the functionalities what you want. So how do you do that? So here I've shown you two functions, one for computing the average grade of the student, the other one was for printing the records of the students which are available in the database. Now this is put into a file called student.py. If I have to import these functions, what do I do? So one way is I can use the statement import and use the name of the file where these functions are present and then say import student. So in this case, all the functions which are available in the file, every function definition is available to you in the current execution what you're trying to do. So you can use average grade function, you can use print record functions, and you can avail the functionalities. Suppose I don't want to borrow all the functions, I want to borrow one specific. Then how do I do? This is the way you can be doing. From I give, I mentioned the name of the file from where I want to import. So from student file, import the specific name of the function which you want to import, which is average grade, which I've shown you here. So in this case, you can borrow the definition of only average grade function and use. So you cannot use all other functions which are existing. But if you do it this way, every function which is available in the file, you can start using. So this is called as module development, where multiple functionalities you can dump in a file and then simply borrow that file wherever you want and start using the function codes which you have already written and tested earlier. Okay. So file handling, this will take some time. So probably we'll end for the day here, right? So what we have in store for tomorrow, operation on files. Okay, what is a socket? So simple programming in Python, how to make two devices communicate, I will be teaching you. Then moving on to Raspberry Pi. Okay, so this is what we had in store for you for the day. If you have any queries, you can ask now, or probably we can stop the session. So any queries?
No, ma'am.
Okay, are you guys following what is being taught?
Yes, ma'am.
Otherwise, you should have doubts, right? No doubts simply means two things. Either you have understood everything or you have not understood anything. So which category you belong to? Understood everything or did not understand anything?
Understood, ma'am.
Understood. Okay, that's good. Okay, so tomorrow we will continue with uh, some more concepts in Python. So how to implement communication between two devices using socket programming, and then move on to Raspberry Pi. Okay. Thanks for joining. Have a good day. Bye-bye.